I am very freshly showered, and Baylor showered Iowa State with a loss. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy week, everybody. I'm Drake Toll from Locked On Baylor. That is Travis Corley from Please Bear With Me. This is the ultimate Locked On Baylor Please Bear With Me crossover episode. All things Baylor Bears. Thank you for making today's show your first listen today. Travis, baby, sports.
Sports. We like sports and we don't care who knows.
Boom.
From shooting hoops to the Super Bowl.
Was that off the dome? Was that off the dome?
No, Lonely Island. Didn't know how this episode was going to start, but we're already on good terms here. Good terms.
I like it.
I'm fired up for this crossover. I'm fired up to talk some Baylor football. How are you feeling after a great weekend of college football and a great win for the Bears?
Yeah, man. As much parity as it feels like there is in college football, I felt like this weekend was pretty chalk ahead of Baylor. I was surprised how few teams ahead of Baylor actually lost. That was the one disappointing part, but a lot of entertaining games. Kansas is quasi-good now, not bad at least, and I didn't have a ton of confidence in Baylor going on the road, and they proved me wrong. I'm very happy about that too.
Absolutely. I was right there with you. Didn't have too much confidence going into the game. Certainly thought we could pull it off. Picked us to win the game, but confidence-wise, yeah, a little bit lacking. And man, this game had everything. Everything. We had Dylan Doyle touchdowns.
Yeah.
We had Drake Dabney channeling his inner Petty and Russell, jumping over defenders.
Yeah.
We had Big 12 officiating at its finest. We had Matt Campbell blowing up on the sidelines. And as the cherry on top, we had Dave Aranda slapping butts on the sideline. How awesome was that to see Dave Aranda fired up?
He slapped butts, man. That's the like it wasn't on my bingo card. I don't know who had it on their bingo card. Like Dave Aranda slapping butts, but they got they're loaded now. Of all the okay, Travis, I want to take a second. This is a fun aside. The clip, I slowed it down and watched it in slow motion yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a YouTube account that posted a video about how Iowa State got screwed by the refs.
Okay.
All along, it was just this clickbait thing. I click on it, and it's just Dave Aranda slapping butts for 6 minutes.
Fantastic.
And I've watched it. Aranda slaps the first butt. Coach that he slaps looks the next guy over and kind of points and goes, and then slaps his butt. The guy he braces for it. Dave turns to another coach, and Dave motions for him to turn around, and then the guy's and then he slaps that butt. Context clues. I was almost a law student. I think they have a butt slapping thing going. This is something they do regularly and have a little code for it whenever something good happens.
Maybe. That was the best part about it was the third one, because Aranda, he was into it. He was like, oh yeah, line up. We're going through here. So yeah.
This was not rogue butt slapping. This was premeditated.
Absolutely. Absolutely premeditated butt slapping. So man, just awesome to see him just kind of be himself,
Yeah.
I feel like he's really settling in as a head coach and really just comfortable in his own skin, and just awesome to see him fired up. And final score, 31-24. The score is going to say that this game was closer than it really was.
Absolutely.
I think the whole team stepped up. There's not one person that I can point to and say, you didn't rise to the challenge. You didn't play well. Man, this whole team really stepped up. Was really fun to see after that BYU game. And, similar total yards, BU 361, Iowa State 350. But where I think Baylor really kind of dominated this game, rush yards, Baylor 123, which is kind of low for us, but Iowa State only 66 rushing yards. You look at the time of possession, Baylor 34 and a half minutes, Iowa State 25 and a half. And then you look at the Iowa State penalties that got Matt Campbell fired up there on the sidelines. Do you think Baylor turned a corner this weekend?
I do. I would say mostly, and shameless plug, wrote about this for Inside the Bears this week, that it was a breakthrough on the road. That, to me, was the biggest part of this whole thing, was Baylor broke through in a road game. Granted, it was 11 a.m., but you still had 65,000 screaming Iowa State fans in a hostile environment. Even more so because of the officiating. Those fans were getting into it. And the fact that Baylor was able to play through that showed a lot of maturity. And the fact that you mentioned this was the biggest 7-point blowout maybe in Baylor history. This just wasn't a 7-point game. Baylor dominated every facet. There was never a point, Cameron Stewart said it on yesterday's show, never a point where it felt like Baylor was going to lose this game. They were in control from jump. And to do that on the road, where I've been ridiculing this team for weeks now, says so much about how prepared Dave Aranda has his team.
Oh, yeah. Very good to see. Awesome to see that. And came out aggressive on the first drive.
Yeah.
2 fourth-down conversions. And I saw this via Deontay Epps on Twitter. Baylor's 8-0 under Dave Aranda when scoring a touchdown on the opening drive. That's kind of wild to me.
8-0?
8-0. Score on the first drive, 8-0, baby. 8-0. So be interesting to see if that trend continues. We're definitely going to keep being aggressive. And a few penalties there from Iowa State on the first drive helped us out for sure. But hey, you got to capitalize when you can. And Jeff Grimes is a wizard. He is a wizard. I mean, the Sims touchdown call there in the red zone, the Doyle touchdown, the flea flicker. Is there a limit to the tricks that he has in his bag?
Oh yeah, first game in conference play. So there's more. There's a lot more in there. It's why I'm confident if Baylor needs like a 2-point conversion down the stretch, there's going to be a play for that. There's going to be something that the defense doesn't see coming. People that were on the fire Jeff Grimes train, I will never understand that. It's every offensive coordinator. It's maybe the most hostile job. It's so random too. In football is the OC, because any given week the team doesn't score. It's never that the opposing defense was good. It's always, I've played Madden. I could have called better plays than that. You would call 4 verts every play. Yeah, like, that's what people just think, like, oh, call 4 verts, it's going to work. The fire Jeff Grimes train was a very small train that it crashed into itself. So I love Jeff Grimes. Do you like Jeff Grimes? I love
Absolutely. Like that. I didn't see people say like, "Hey, we should get rid of him," but that is wild. That is ridiculous. And I never got on that train. I never will be on that train.
Never really left the station. It was a sad train.
Oh man, that is a sad train. And there was another train that some people were hopping on, and it's in regards to Blake Shapen. And Blake Shapen came out and he balled out. All right, he balled out. 19 of 26, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. And when he has time, he's hashtag good. When he has time,
that's what the kids are saying.
Yeah, he can throw on the move. I think he can do it all. Extremely accurate. Had a couple of good keepers. Obviously, few moments there where he holds on to the ball a little bit too long. Yeah. But there were whispers, Drake. There were whispers that maybe letting go of Gary Bohannon was the wrong decision. I think Shapen put that to bed. What do you think?
I don't. I'm going to push back a little bit and say that even after one game, I don't know if I would go as far as to say I have complete, full confidence in Shapen. I'm sure I've probably said that in an emotional rant on this show too. But I am a lot more confident now than I was a week ago. Texas State, I felt like was almost worse than BYU, especially the first half. He looked lost against a team that's not very good. And then something happened in the second half where he found it. That last play of the first half into the second half, and this week picked right back up where he left off. I thought, here's how I'll put Blake Shapen this weekend, even tossing Gary Bohannon out of it. Blake Shapen was a grown man quarterback this week. He picked up the kahunas and said, let's drive the field. Let's go for it on 4th down and pick it up. I'll go out and make a play that unexpected. He did that one little twirl around thing that was wild. Blake Shapen showed a lot of maturity, and he grew up as a quarterback this week. That's a big point of emphasis for me, is that Shapen looked older in the best way. Do you feel like that leaf is turned, that this is kind of a turning point for Shapen?
I do. I think that this game was a huge confidence booster, and I think I've been one that, yes, has Shapen started the first 3 games of the season at best average? Yes. But I think that was also in part to not having time in the pocket and also having inexperience at wide receiver. I mean, we came into this year with, I think, the total receptions of the receiving crew being like under 10 in Big 12 games. Like almost 0 experience. So I think that he finally had time to throw, and he finally got some help from his receivers. Ben Sims being back in the lineup was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
how crucial is Ben Sims to this offense? Like, he is that safety blanket, and when you get into that red zone 20, 15 yards out from the goal line, we said it, Jeff Grimes is a wizard, and he's going to wave his wand and call a beautiful play, usually for Ben Sims.
Yeah. Well, Ben Sims is as clutch as betonline.net. Betonline.net is where the game starts, Travis. It is, if you've never looked at it, just the interface itself is so great. Telling the folks at home, betonline.net. Travis, guess what? My wisdom teeth are coming in. I'm a 21-year-old male. I don't know what the gender has to do with it, by the way. I'm 21 years old, and my wisdom teeth that are coming in. I just noticed it when we started this show. On the right side of my mouth, it hurts because that tooth's pushing through. But you know what makes it better? BetOnline.net. It makes it all go away. It makes me happy. So BetOnline.net is where the game starts. A bunch of sports wagering, betting information's all there. It's all there. Just like Ben Sims, he's all there. It's like sometimes he's omnipresent on the football field because Shapen checks down the first receiver, Monterey Baldwin, checks down Hal Presley. There's Ben Sims, Mr. Reliable, middle of the field. I was upset the first 3 games they didn't throw to him more often. He should be target number 1. He is your Travis Kelce, your George Kittle. He's a 6'6" target that you need to go to on all downs, not just 3rd or 4th down.
Absolutely. Thought he was going to come into this year as the leading receiver in yards and in touchdowns. And I think that's still doable. And yeah, I think the offense needs to lean on him. He's obviously the most proven receiver in that group. It was nice to have Baldwin back, although he didn't make a huge impact in the game. But man, had some receivers step up. Yeah. Gavin Holmes, Hal Presley finally saw an outside shot, a one-on-one for him to go up and make a play, and he finally does it. That's what this offense has just sorely needed. It was so good to see. And, last kind of point I'll make on the offense here is 123 rushing yards seems low, but I really felt like we ran the ball well. I don't know how you feel about it. Like, I just felt like we really ran the ball well.
Well, I'm looking at Richard Reese, and he was just a hoss. That touchdown carry of 19 yards, just refusing to go down, was huge. And 78 yards in total on those 21 carries. This is a good Iowa State defense. I was looking at Iowa State statistics over the course of the year, and they have just been stout against every team they played. Granted, they haven't seen any good offenses this year, so do take that into account. But even still, Iowa State has a formidable defense, not just in the Big 12, but nationally. They're ranked the top 10 coming into this game, and I think they'll show it again against Kansas this week in a game that they likely win on the road. So I still have so much confidence in this Iowa State defense, and that's why I have confidence in the Baylor running game, because 78 yards from your true freshman running back in the teeth of a team on the road with a good defense. And Travis, how about this? Guy's a true freshman. He wasn't a name we really talked about preseason. This is a guy that probably he's going to bet on himself, but did he expect to be the starting running back at this point in the juncture at Iowa State? Probably not. And he went out there. He said, "Hey, Blake, good job picking up your kahunas. Mind if I do it too?" Picking up his own kahunas, by the way, not Blake's kahunas. And ran the ball for 78 yards. I am wholly impressed with Richard Reese.
He's definitely does not run like a true freshman at all. And I love Tay McWilliams.
Travis, no. I'm going to push back on that. He does run like a true freshman in this way. Reckless abandonment. Abandonment. When he gets the football, you watch a lot. It's very much a refuse to go down. You see a lot of senior running backs or guys that expect to get drafted. They're a little more, once they get their 6 or their 7 yards, they're a little more used to, hey, I'm going to get down before I get hurt. I don't want to take a big hit in the secondary or a linebacker coming across and nail me. So those guys are a little more apt to, all right, I've got my 6, my 7, I'm good to go. This guy, Richard Reese, is like, I'm just going to keep moving the pile. I'm just going to keep pushing. I will run as hard into you, kind of like Abram Smith. Again, It's this when you have a green running back, someone who's not maybe new to the position or new in their role with the team, a la Abram Smith or Richard Reese, they run with a lot more reckless abandonment, and you see that on the field. He runs like he just doesn't care. He wants to get yards, score points, and I love that part. But you're right in what you were trying to say. He doesn't run like a freshman.
Yeah. But like, Tay McWilliams. Tay McWilliams. As
Yeah.
much as I love the guy, as much as I wanted to see him, carry this offense from the running back position, him being hurt may have really, really paved the way for Richard Reese now to lead the backfield in carries for the rest of the year. It is going to be hard to not give Richard Reese 20 carries a game. It really is.
That, and you saw it against BYU. Richard Reese didn't carry the ball very many times. It was after that first game against Albany, you thought Richard Reese could be a legitimate contender for this running back spot. And then against Albany, or against BYU, you thought, they didn't give the ball to him as many times as I really thought they would. It was Squirrel and Quaylen mostly. Then against Texas State, you had to give him the ball. That's what's even cooler about Richard Reese. He didn't win the job preseason or week 1 or week 2. It took to week 3 where the guy just didn't give up. So Tay McWilliams being hurt, certainly not good. And when he's back, you've got a 2, 3, 4, 5-headed monster at running back that's still going to be deadly. But yeah, the resurgence, not even a resurgence, it's just the surgence of Richard Reese is something that I never could have expected.
Absolutely. And last thing here I'll say on the offense, no turnovers. That always helps. Helps. Let's talk about this defense now. And man, I really think this was their first performance of the year.
Yeah.
And we talked about Jeff Grimes being a wizard. If that's true, then Ron Roberts is sorcerer supreme, because I thought he was going to come into this game and get freaky, and that's what he did. He got jiggy with it, especially in that second half. Brought the pressure. 4 sacks. I think that was the most sacks we had on the year. 8 tackles for loss and 2 interceptions. Man. And the rush defense. Defense. Iowa State, 66 rushing yards, 2.4 yards per carry. I mean, how is anyone going to run against Baylor? How?
So we've talked about how the running game was not for Baylor. The numbers weren't as gaudy as they should be. That on the offensive side. I told you also Richard Reese had almost 80 yards rushing. That is the same number, 79.5 of rushing yards that Baylor's defense has allowed this season per game. They allow 79.5 yards per game. That's insanely good no matter who you're playing, especially these garbage time games like Texas State or Albany, where your starters have left the game by the fourth quarter. That's usually when those numbers can skew. For comparison, Oklahoma State, who's supposed to have maybe the best defense in the Big 12 this year, they are allowing right now 111 rush yards per game to Arizona State, Central Michigan, and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. So this is a really good defense in Oklahoma State. I still think they're solid, and Baylor's boat racing them when it comes to the stopping the run game. And against Iowa State, the Cyclones basically had to give up. You've got to put the ball in Hunter Decker's hands. Why did he have 2 interceptions? Well, a large part of that's because they couldn't run the football. They had to force him to throw it more than they probably wanted to, and that's a huge testament to Baylor, not just their defensive line, but I thought the linebackers played supremely well this week.
Absolutely. I mean, it just goes back to there's no one I can point to on this team that I was like, nah, you didn't rise to the challenge. You weren't ready to play. I mean, this was an absolute team win, an absolute team defense showing up, man. We've got to talk. We've got to talk about this Jyrell Brock fumble into the end zone. They must have had a different view than the rest of America, because it is besides me how this gets overturned. Snacks goes up there and takes Jyrell Brock's gummy worms, and somehow he's able to caress it back into his loving arms and keep those thick thighs in bounds. I don't see it. Not sure how that got overturned.
No, lovingly, I will say this to everyone. I teared up a little bit. Every now, I don't know if I was just I didn't get a lot of sleep Friday night. High school football, man, keeps you up. When that play, Snacks Johnson chasing the guy down and punching it out, it's not your play to make. And 99.7% of players just let the guy have his free touchdown. He's streaking free. And Jyrell Brock's really slow, by the way. I watched that play back over, and he's just slow motion, and Snacks took advantage of that. Baylor's defense is so fast. What a football play. For the officiating crew to give him that and be like, just kidding, without any significant, sturdy evidence. There was no way to overturn that. There were 2 touchdowns Iowa State had. At least one of them wasn't a touchdown. At least one. Pick one, by the way. and all their fans want to talk about the officiating. The referee spotted you 14 points. What?
It seems that way. It seems that way. Looking back on it, the first one, I think was a touchdown. To be fair, I think the first one was a touchdown. But what frustrated me was that there was no review. I mean, we're going to review these random, like it's 2nd and 10 and you get 4 yards, but we're going to review if it was 5 yards, but we're not going to review a touchdown. Is frustrating. But yeah, an amazing play by Snacks, an amazing play, the best nickname on the team, and makes an amazing play, and doesn't turn out for us, and that's a huge reason why the score was so close, so close. And the pass defense, man, finally came through. Came through with 2 interceptions. That's been the kind of the weakness of the defense. If you wanted to point out a weakness, and coming into this game, going against the best wide receiver up until this point in the year in the Big 12 with Xavier Hutchinson, and held him to 84 yards. And yes, I say held him to 84 yards because he's been averaging over 100 per game. And so to hold him to 84 yards total for the game, and really in the second half when that defense finally just really clamped down and dominated, because without that touchdown from Jairo Brock, we only give up 3 points in the second half and only gave up 27 yards receiving to Hutchinson in that second half. But that pass defense, man, they're starting to come on, and that pass rush always helps out. Always helps out.
Iowa State had to respect it because they kept throwing screen passes to Xavier Hutchinson. He would catch a screen pass, or he'd catch a little 3-yard out or a 3-yard drag. And I kept thinking, well, the guy's going to have 7-8 receptions by the end of the show, but it's not going to tell the whole story because really he's not doing that much they're not throwing the ball downfield to him. They're just getting it to him without much space, even because Baylor was wrapping up the screenplays so well. Mm-hmm. He had in total, you're talking about the 84 yards, 28 of those come on one play, and you're staring down the barrel of, a third of your yards coming on one single play. Then I think that's really telling that Baylor pretty much shut him down. They just tried to go in the short yardage and it didn't work out. So he never burned Baylor for a big play. And I think that was huge because, in my opinion, to this point, he's the best wide receiver in the Big 12. His numbers are gaudy and he looks really solid on the field. And Baylor said, look, we'll lock you up, catch the ball in the backfield. We don't give a crap. We'll just tackle you there.
Yeah. And I don't think that is a very good offensive strategy against the speed and the tackling ability of Baylor. I just think screen passes against this Baylor defense are not a good way to go.
They're too fast. Baylor's too fast.
Too fast. And I just really liked what I saw from the entire defense, but really from that defensive backfield, still very young in the defensive backfield as well. And I think having Christian Morgan back in the lineup, just having that veteran presence, even though he may not have played the most snaps, he ended up getting an interception. Yeah. And I just think his presence is calming to the rest of that defensive backfield. A lot like Doyle's presence in the middle is just calming for the entire defense.
Yeah, that has been such a huge point for Baylor. Defensively to me is senior leadership, or the old guys stepping up. Matt Jones being another big one that I'm looking at and saying, wow, he to my it's a heavy statement, but to my eyes, he's been the best defensive player on the team right now. Matt Jones is it feels like he's everywhere for that linebacker spot, especially with Doyle going out with a suspension for a half game and getting pulled in the BYU game. Matt Jones just stepped up and has been really solid defensively. So you mentioned it, you get one of your senior leaders back this week, and it's huge for the secondary too, that people had a lot of question marks for in the preseason. And oddly enough, we have not yet had to talk through 4 weeks about the secondary being awful. They just, at no point have they really cracked consistently in a game. And I felt like they did that multiple times last season, even in big wins. The Texas game at home, notably, awful game for the secondary. And Al Walcott got a sack on Saturday. I mean, guys just fly into the football. And again, says a lot about your secondary stepping up. The fact that opposing quarterbacks, opposing offensive coordinators have to respect a Baylor secondary that a lot of Baylor fans thought would be the weak spot.
Absolutely. And I'll back you up with what you said about Matt Jones, because I think that was the question about this linebacker group coming into the year is, where does Matt Jones fall? And then the rest of the dominoes will fall into place. And it's really just exciting for me to see him playing that well.
Yeah.
So versatile, so versatile.
Yeah.
And to come in there and to kind of have to take the place of Terrell Bernard, he's doing an outstanding job. Outstanding job.
Yeah. Big physical guy, huge, super physical. And that's what you got to have in this defense for Dave Aranda, replacing Terrell Bernard. And you got Al Walcott, who I think has played well, stepped up this week too, who's replacing Jalen Petrie, that's now making his own waves in the NFL.
Oh, man. Yeah. Petrie's game on Sunday. Did you see that stat line? Ridiculous.
Wild.
Ridiculous. Oh, man. Well, that's kind of all I wanted to cover on the game. But overall, man, we beat a good team.
Yeah.
We beat a good team. And I am glad that we played Iowa State early in the year. I'm glad we got them when we did. I'm glad we got them at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And I think Baylor turned a corner this weekend. Playmakers are starting to emerge. The identity of the team is starting to emerge. This is a big confidence booster heading into the rest of this year. And Baylor's last 2 10-win seasons were catapulted by a win over Iowa State in the 4th game of the season.
Yeah.
And that is just what happened for your Baylor Bears. So absolutely got to feel good about this team moving forward. And man, this game, I think is going to catapult us into that Big 12 championship game. I really do.
Each one-score games, by the way, all close games too against Iowa State, and they got it done on the road this time, which was even different. So bodes well moving forward at least.
Yeah, I think to have that kind of BYU monkey off your back, if you will, is also a huge step. And going into this game, I felt like Baylor has faced the most adversity of any other team in the Big 12. They played in the most intense environment, I would say, at BYU of any Big 12 team. And they had to face that adversity. And no other team in the Big 12 really has done that up until this point.
You also lose your starting running back and your best wide receiver.
Exactly. So Iowa State up until that point hadn't really faced much adversity, hadn't really played anyone significantly as good as Baylor had played. And so I think that played into this game. And moving forward into Oklahoma State, kind of the same situation for those guys. They really have not played anyone. They haven't really
Travis.
Who?
They allowed 44 points to Central Michigan. That's a loaded Chippewas team. Don't discount them.
Apologies for offending. Apologies. Yeah, I mean, they just, I don't think they have faced much adversity. They certainly have not faced a team like Baylor up until this point. And I think them having the bye week this early in the year is not good. To have 2 weeks off of football, and now you have to go to Waco and open Big 12 play against the defending Big 12 champions. I mean, it does not bode well for Oklahoma State, honestly, for me. And I don't know why, but I am not very worried about this game. Should I be worried? Why am I not worried? I was way more worried about Iowa State. In this game, I'm just not. I don't know why.
I'm not going to go back and forth. The last week I went back and forth between Iowa State and Baylor, who was going to win. This week I won't. This week I'm pretty confident in Baylor. And ESPN has Baylor at a 65% chance to win, which is wild for a team playing another team 10 spots better in the AP poll. 7 spots. They also, Vegas has Baylor favored by a field goal. I think that says a lot against a top 10 team. I don't know. It's Spencer Sanders. He hasn't shown me anything good. Maybe Oklahoma State wins this game, and if they do, Baylor's not a bad team still. But I think Baylor wins this game. I think Blake Shapen, he carved up Oklahoma State's defense last year, and it was a better Oklahoma State defense than it is this season. So Not that I'm not worried. There are still parts of this game that I'm like, oh, well, if Baylor's going to lose, they certainly can, and here's how. But I like Baylor's shot.
I do too. They just feel less dynamic at wide receiver and running back. They've lost Malcolm Rodriguez, who is a monster at middle linebacker for them last
Yeah.
year and is starting in the NFL as a rookie for the Detroit Lions. And they also lost their defensive coordinator. So I feel like this team is just, we already know what this team is, especially with Spencer Sanders under center. We know who he is. And maybe that's just why I'm not super worried. Do you think that Aranda is talking at all about the Big 12 championship game last year? Does that come up at all this week? At all?
100%. 100%. It comes
Really?
up as a don't. No one say a single word. I don't give a crap. It doesn't matter. Or the only other way it would come up is these guys will be fired up because of what happened last season. Dave may even be as vague as that. Just say these guys will be fired up because this is bulletin board material for Oklahoma State. They want to win this game more than you want to win this game. And that's a wake-up call in itself. So that could bode well for Oklahoma State. Although a lot of teams with that kind of emotion, you come in too emotional, the other team strikes quick, strikes first, and they win the ball game. So yeah, I think it's got to be addressed at some point somewhere, but not as a meaty. It's not going to mean too much to this squad at all.
Yeah, and I almost think it's opposite for Oklahoma State. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Gundy is going to mention that. Like,
Right.
I think that is going to be talked about in the Oklahoma State locker room because, like, hey, they were literally inches away from the college football playoff. Literally inches. Shout out Jerry McVay.
Yeah.
But man, they're going to be fired up for this game. I think that's something they talk about throughout the week, knowing Coach Gundy. And what is the matchup to watch for here? What do you think?
I am going which quarterback steps up bigger? Last year, Spencer Sanders got embarrassed by Baylor in both games. Yeah, bad. 4 interceptions in the Big 12 championship. 4. That's more than I threw in my intramural season. Yeah.
That's a lot of interceptions.
Wild. I'm not good, by the way. He's the starter, Division I. So it's a matchup of two guys that will never be on the field at the same time. I really do. Which quarterback plays better? Sanders is a senior. He's old. Like, he's older than a senior. He is old. Shapen is not. Which guy steps up, has the bigger arm, makes the bigger play when it's needed?
Yep. I think I'm right there with you. I agree with you. I think it's whatever quarterback plays better. And hey, if Baylor comes out here and scores on the first possession, like a touchdown,
9-0, baby.
9-0, book it. All right, book it. But I mean, is that what you would say is a key to the game? Is just to Shapen play better than Spencer Sanders, or what do you think's the biggest key to the game here for the Bears?
Yeah, if there is a realm in which Shapen plays worse than Spencer Sanders and Baylor still wins, I don't want to say that it all hinges on that matchup necessarily. So I want to backtrack a bit on that. I would say instead, key number 1 is to start fast. If Oklahoma State comes in super charged up and they get up 14-0, I don't want to say you're buried, but it doesn't look good. And especially the offense where it has still been shaky. We want to see it be more consistent this week. And then my key is the opposite. You Baylor, if you get up 14-0, I think that's the game. I really do. I think a 2-touchdown lead at any point for Baylor is the game in this one. That's my key. Don't get down by 2, get up by 2 scores.
I like it. And hey, going in this game, no Khalil Keith, no Tate McWilliams. Grant Miller's expected to be back. I was worried about Gavin Byers at right tackle. He had a hell of a game.
Stepped up, hasn't he? Stepped up.
Big time step up. Like, man, I was so worried about the right side of that line. And Richard Reese's long touchdown run, right side of the offensive line.
Block them all, baby.
Yeah. And if you guys watch the recap, you rewatch games, if you follow Travis Roeder on Twitter, he does the game recaps. Like, watch Gavin Byers every single one of those plays, and he plays excellent. Absolutely excellent. So not as concerned about the offensive line there. I think they've turned a corner as well. And man, I think this is just going to be a classic Dave Aranda Baylor football team show up, be more physical than you, have more rush yards than you. You're not going to run on us, and we're going to do our thing at home, and we're going to beat Oklahoma State. So
I like it. Travis, lock it in.
Lock it in. Lock it in. All right. Last thing here. We like to do a little segment we call Oh So or Oh No.
Ooh.
And if you are not familiar with Oh So or Oh No, here's how it works. I'm going to say a statement. If you agree with the statement, you're going to say Oh So. If you disagree with the statement, you're going to say Oh No. We ready?
Let's rock.
All right. 90% of McLean will be gold on Saturday. I say, oh, so fans show up big time. That thing's golded out.
Oh, no. Yeah, Oklahoma State fans travel well, and it's close. It's a close proximity. So I think Oklahoma State fans give a good contingent. I'm going, oh, no, not for lack of Baylor fans, for surplus of OSU fans.
Fair enough. The McPlay is shown 3 or more times on the video board. I say, oh, so.
Oh, I'm going, oh, no, again.
No.
Yeah. Dave Aranda makes specifically sure it is not played more than like once. They're going to talk into at least being played once, but not more. No fuel for Oklahoma State. Oh no.
Dude, I'm like hoping like literally every third down, we just like show the McPlay and just everyone goes nuts. Like every chance we get, like I want them to show up.
If Lane Kiffin was our head coach, every play that would be on the video board.
All right. So I now that you say what you said, I'm kind of leaning towards oh no, but I'm sticking with Oso. Sanders throws 2 interceptions. Oso or oh no?
Oso! Pew, 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 pew. That's the easiest Oso ever.
Oso for me as well. Oklahoma State 100 rushing yards.
Oso because they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball with Spencer Sanders too. What do you say?
Disagree. Oh no. Oh no. Disagree. Run defense is stout, real stout at home. Oh no. And that's what makes Sanders throw the 2 interceptions because he's going to have to throw it. They're not going to be able to run against us.
That's the toughest one so far. That's a good one.
Squirrel Williams, over 50 yards rushing.
Oso.
I say Oso as well. We've been riding the Richard Reese train, waiting for that squirrel breakout game. I think this is it.
I like it.
Shapen 4 total touchdowns, passing or throwing. I'm going oh no.
I'm going oh no. I think 3's good here. I like 3 for Shapen. 4 seems a little hefty. I just don't know if Baylor's going to score. I think Baylor probably scores in the 28 to 31 range, and Shapen probably doesn't have all 4 if they score 4.
I am right there with you. Dylan Doyle scores a touchdown. I say, oh no, not 2 weeks in a row.
I'm going
2 weeks in a row, right?
I'm going
yes, I love it.
There's something about it. Especially playing big physical teams, they will try to get Doyle the ball at the 1 yard. If you're the 1 yard line, they'll go to Doyle again up the gut and just punch it in. It's weird. It's weird. It's going to be in the end zone too. That's facing the crowd of the horseshoe. Always is. I feel it. It's
always that one. All right, last one here. Baylor wins.
Oh so.
And you know what? That's how we're going to shut it down. Drake Toll, Travis Corley, the combination of the year.
Impeccable. Honestly, I'm going to have to switch you and Scotty on Fridays, or at least have you both.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do that, man. Let's do that.
He's gonna text me immediately. Scotty, I was kidding. It's a joke. It's the best segment of the week. Don't tell Cam that. As for us, come back tomorrow. John Garcia Jr. from Sports Illustrated joins the show. Sports Illustrated. Travis, impeccable stuff.
Thanks, man. You too. That was fun. I was fired up. Glad to finally meet you. I'm fired up for the game this weekend. Let's gold out. And this is Drake Toll and Travis Corley saying, stay safe and sick 'em Bears.